Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be reacting to the comments you made on the Roman Dodecahedron video, which had more comments than any other video I've ever made, especially for the view count. Something like over 5,000 comments, something like that. Astonishing, really. Lots and lots of debate about these dodecahedrons. I'm also doing this because I'm on holiday. When you're watching this right now, I'm on holiday, so I didn't have time to do another video. But me and Centurion Nandy are going to respond to these comments, and I've got to start with this one. I'm utterly convinced that Stefan is the most well-spoken and well-learned person to ever look like their hat should have a little propeller on top of it. By Dead Frog. Oh my gosh. I was just going through the comments, and I've been chuckling to myself about that for like 10 minutes. That might be my favorite comment of all time. Oh my goodness. And it's so funny because that's exactly the vibe I want to put out into the world. I never want you guys to take me too seriously or think that I'm some expert hotshot, blah, 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 blah. No, I give off the vibe that my hat has a little propeller on it. Part of me wishes I gave out a sexier vibe than that, not going to lie, but that is so funny. So funny. Thank you, Dead Frog. That might actually become my YouTube banner. It's so funny to me. I can't help but imagine a Gallo-Roman metalworker watching this and laughing at all the theories and effort into figuring it out. Yeah, it is a funny one, isn't it? You know, we found over 100 of them. And those are just the ones we found, right? That might not even be 1% of all the ones that were ever made. So there are certainly thousands of Roman citizens in Gaul and Britain and Germania, places like that knew what this object was for. And it must seem so obvious to them. It must seem so obvious to them, but you didn't write it down, guys. We don't know. You didn't write it down. In 1600 years, scientists will be just as baffled by fidget spinners. I had a lot of comments about that. Fidget spinner things. There was another one here. Let me see. Here's the one I was looking for. It'd be hilarious if these were just an executive desk toys, just like Newton's cradle, metal pin artboard, and drinking bird have been with us. Yeah, it is interesting, like I said, with that model of the universe and a ritual object. I actually said this in my video, but I cut it out when I was editing because I just felt like I was waffling at the end. Do you know what I wonder? Do you know what I wonder sometimes? If this is like an explanation, a model for the universe. If it's not like one of those click-clacky balls, you know, that realistically is a display of science, but also it's just a thingy-me-bob. It's a what's it. It could be something like that. It could just be some totally harmless, oh yeah, dodecahedrons, model of the universe, here's mine, blah, blah, blah. Bloop, bleep, nothing here. I think it's likely an apprenticeship challenge. It would explain why there's no documentation of them, they were trivial, and why there is so much variety. Apprentices continue to this day to make complex things for no practical purpose other than demonstrate their ability. I mean, I get what you're saying. That is a good explanation for why we just don't have any documentation about them, because they were so trivial. But it's kind of a waste of bronze, if it is trivial like that. And even though they are all different, they're clearly working towards the same idea. And would that be the case if it was just an apprenticeship demonstrating what they can do? I'm pretty sure these were just cast as well. I've seen a video where some guy who works with bronze just cast one, and where it would be connected to the mold, he just filed that bit down and polished it down. So it's an interesting one. It could be. But again, when I said in my video, like, if you're a traveling metalworker in the Roman Empire and if you didn't actually know what you were doing, they just say get lost. I think they just say get lost. I don't know what time this saves. If it is some test of skill, how much time is being saved? France 2J. It's how you portion out spaghetti properly without using the whole packet. Duh. Could be, man. Could be. Did the Romans have spaghetti though? That's a deep dive that's a rabbit hole to go down. Had the Romans developed spaghetti? I thought it was Marco Polo coming back from China. But I could be totally wrong. Did the Romans have spaghetti? I'm not going to Google it. My first instinct is to Google something like that, is to Google everything nowadays. I'm not going to Google it. I'm just going to let that percolate in my brain. just have to take a moment to thank the sponsor of today's video, Delete Me. Delete Me is here to fight for your privacy online. More and more of our lives are online, and it's actually astonishing the amount of personal information that is out there about us. It's incredible. This information is being bought and sold by data brokers, and it's a big cause of spam, online harassment, stalking, horrible things like that, horrible things that come along with our digital world. Your information doesn't have to be on these lists. It can be taken off, but who has the time and know-how to do that? Absolutely no one. Delete Me can help with that. They can remove your names and information off these data sets. They can even do it for other family members too. They'll send you a privacy report just to show you where they found your information and how much they've been able to remove. It's all totally transparent. Don't give up your right to privacy so easily, guys. That sucks. If that's something that interests you, you can get 20% off consumer plans when you go to joindeleteme.com/Stefan Milo. The link is down below. There's probably a QR on screen that I'm ducking and diving around. Thank you so much to Delete Me for supporting this channel. Joanne Zera. As a knitter and fiber crafter, I've always thought this is to make items with yarn, string, or wire. It looks so similar to the knitting dolly or spool dolly that is still used today. Let's take a look, because my mum is really big on textiles and all of that stuff. I'm afraid I know so little about it. Okay. It certainly is a hole with knobs around it. That does check out, but my gut instinct is telling me this thing is not a tool. Of course, I don't know, but my gut instinct is just telling me it's not a tool. Probably the Romans had things similar to this. I don't know. Like, this is just a simple tool, so it's made out of simple things. Do people have, like, prestige sewing tools that they would make out of bronze and nice metals and stuff? Do people do that now? I'm genuinely asking. I genuinely don't know. An important point that isn't being mentioned here, the metal dodecahedron are the ones that survive, not all of the ones that existed. True. Could have been made out of other materials, like wood. What would that tell us? If we found a wooden one, what would that tell us? I mean, it would tell us that it's probably not something that an apprentice bronze maker made. What else would it tell us? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what we would learn from that. I'm so hung up on the fact that there aren't any markings on this object. It makes it so hard to interpret it. Even if we found one made out of wood, what would that tell us? I guess that it's not as prestige an item. Roman watching Stefan trying to stick a candle in the dodecahedron. What's he doing? Everyone knows what these are for. Yeah. Yeah, that is funny, isn't it? Like, I know people have commented on all about it being a fidget spinner. Imagine if in like 1500 years time people are putting birthday candles in a fidget spinner or something, and they're like, this is the old spinny candle holder that everyone loved in 2020 whatever. Onto games here. Holly Ramona. If covered with leather, you would not see the different sized holes and therefore be unaware that this is in fact a weighted die. It's an interesting one whether they were covered in things, because I did see a relatively similar representation of what's it called, the zodiac signs, a modern one. I think a modern one. I don't know what they're modeled on, if it's a replica of something older, but it kind of had the knobs protruding and stuff like that, and was covered in leather or some similar fabric. And yeah, you know, like I said, I'm really hung up on the fact that there aren't any markings, but maybe there were markings. It's just what the markings were on has not survived. And even if I couldn't see that it was weighted, and she means weighted here because the holes are different sizes, so they're inevitably, you know, a side with a small hole has more metal in it than a side with a big hole and is therefore heavier. But let's say I'm gambling down the barriers with my mates, with my mate Nandi, Centurion Nandi, and we're playing some game, and then he pulls out this big leather dice. Even if I didn't know which side was weighted, I don't want to play with him. Get the normal dice out, Nandi. You con man. That's why you've only got a brush on your helmet, because you're a con man, and no one likes you. That's harsh. Seems like it's gotten darker in here. I closed the blinds because it was so bright, and now it's gone darker. I'm going to open them up again. The sun's going to come back out, and it'll be unbearably bright. I will decorate this office at some point, by the way. I've just been busy, but when I get back from holiday, I'm going to be decorating it, and it's going to look cool. If it was a ritual device, there would have been a drawing of it somewhere. It's an interesting one, that. I think if it was a ritual device, that might increase its chances of being drawn somewhere, because people tend to place a lot of pride in their religions and rituals and all these sorts of things. But as far as I'm aware, the Romans had a lot of secret cults. In our time, at least in the West, the big religions are kind of evangelical, right? They want converts, and they want big, attendances. Christianity, Islam. I mean, those are the big two at the minute. I think they're sort of evangelical. I think I'm right in saying the Romans had more secretive religions, and they had a lot of religions, a lot of religious cults. And also how standardized was even a large Roman religion in this time period where communication is difficult and things like that. Even if people were, in theory practicing the same religion, could there have been a variety of rituals going on? I think so. I don't know, but I think so. I think that's not implausible. And yeah, I mean, I think it was like just some obscure religious cult that only appeared in sort of Gaul and Britain. The like these dodecahedrons. I think just because it's a ritual object, it doesn't necessarily mean it was written down. Bob Sanner, 4590. We used to use them in making rope. You can fasten 2 to 73 different types of rope onto it as smaller strings and let it rotate, and it will intertwine all the different size strings together, and the knobs on the outside will guarantee strings from getting tangled on the bowl, and just let it rotate freely. I mean, if you saw my video last year about the perforated battens, that is an enigmatic artifact with holes, and the hypothesis is that it was used for rope making, or at least a popular hypothesis. The only thing I wonder about is, are they heavy enough? Are they heavy enough to be good at making rope? The ones I have I'm not even sat next to one. Let me go get one. So stupid. I can't believe I started the video without even getting the bloody dodecahedron. And the icosahedron. Forgot about the icosahedron. A lot of these explanations don't account for the icosahedron. This would be very difficult to use to make rope. You can't really feed anything through these small holes. I mean, it could. Here's the tricky thing. It could do everything, right? Every hypothesis that has been thought of so far, it probably can do all of them. But if there are so many ideas about this thing, probably none of them are a slam dunk yet. Do you know what I mean? Even I saw a lot of people commenting about its potential to be used in cryptography. There's a YouTube video of a man who demonstrated that. I think it could be used for that. But it just doesn't, to me, it just doesn't seem likely. Yeah. Speaking of it being a tool, gentleman Hugo des Rosiers Plaisance, 3156. I'm so sorry, I've absolutely butchered your name, if that even is your name. Who knows, maybe I've said some like absolutely terrible thing in French right now. Using the holes to estimate distance and sizes makes no sense. He can literally just use his thumb to do the exact same thing. Like maybe they had a very specific use for those in a land surveying context, but that's going to require serious evidence for me to buy into it. I'm so hung up on the fact that it doesn't have markings, like anything to do with engineering, anything super practical like that. It's a measuring device. It's an engineering tool. These engineers, they're practical people. They don't have time for a measuring device with no markings on it, I think. And then underneath that Hugo's comment, someone called Akali4672, the Romans had schools of surveying with textbooks. We've got the textbooks from a general called Vitruvius. No mention of ranging tools. Yeah, I didn't even realize this. But there is a surviving Roman book of architecture, De Architectura on Architecture, published as 10 books on architecture, is a treatise on architecture written by the Roman architect and military engineer Marcus Vitruvius Pollio, and dedicated to his patron, the Emperor Caesar Augustus. We have a surviving Roman book about architecture and building and construction. No mention of these things. Interesting, interesting. It's Camo. Maybe they filled them with peanut butter and gave them to their dogs to keep them busy. Maybe. That's another thing. Did Romans have peanut butter? Did Romans have spaghetti? And did Romans have peanut butter? I'm not going to look it up. Mary Huckabee 2239. My guess, the object is Druidic, not Roman. The Druids were blacksmiths and chemists. That's how they got their rep as wizards. They held all their knowledge in their heads, not books. Yeah, their distribution does suggest that their origin isn't classically Roman. You know, it's really just Gaul and Britain and a few across the Alps. Maybe the furthest one away is Zagreb. And going back to like that comment, if it was ritual, it would have been noted down. How much do we know about Celtic religious beliefs that survived into the Roman Empire, probably in an adapted way, but survived into the Roman Empire? And I bet not a lot. I bet not a lot at all. There's still plenty of scope in my mind for it to be a ritual object, religious object. It just wasn't written down because maybe the priests didn't have a tradition of writing things down at all. I don't know if my microphone is picking up the sound of the rain, but it's absolutely pouring outside. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of comments about this is for verifying coins, to stop people trimming the edges off of coins and, you know, getting a little bit of extra gold and silver for themselves, debasing the currency. First of all, again, why no markings? Second of all, what's with the icosahedron? And thirdly, other people were commenting down below that Roman coins varied in diameter so much. They're not as precise as modern coins. Probably it was still a problem for people cutting them up and taking a bit of metal for themselves. These were just struck coins, right? So are the coins uniform enough to make this a valuable way of detecting a forgery? If they vary in size slightly anyway, maybe they would be weighing them rather than going off size. If they thought there was a problem with counterfeiting coins, I think they would be weighing them. And why so many holes? You don't need this many holes to do that. I mean, did the Romans have... The Romans only had a few types of coin. I just don't know. You guys know, I think it's a ritual object. I haven't heard any argument of it being a tool that's come close to convincing me. I think it's a doohickey. I think it's a ritual thingy bob. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to go back to my holiday, which, you know, at the time I'm recording hasn't started yet, but hypothetically, at the time you're watching this, I'm on holiday. And I shall return imminently with new videos. And I'm glad everyone seems to be really enjoying this enigmatic artifacts series. It is kind of fun. Someone commented on the video about Bronze Age tablets, Broadleib idole, that they really appreciate a video series talking about just the artifacts because they tend to get absorbed into larger videos about the time and place. And I agree. I'm having a lot of fun making it. There's so many that I want to make a video of. You know, outside of Europe too. The ones in Europe are a little bit easier for me to make, but there's so many funky things going on that the ancestors were up to. And gosh, this Roman Dodecahedron is really a puzzle, isn't it? It's really one of them. Anyway, thank you so much. Have a great day.